have a few charts that I prepared for today. And here we are. This is an interesting example. The person is Merle Haggard. Okay, Merle Haggard is the name. And yes, I'm wearing my glasses now, and good for screen protection, you know, for my eyes.
Indeed.
Keeps me going. And so Merle Haggard, and you can find this chart in Astro Data Bank. And look at his 7th house I want to show here. This ascendant is Gemini. I drew the North Indian or diamond chart. The 7th house, I said, is Gemini. There's only Rashi Dṛṣṭi of Saturn and the Sun. Now, what is the person's attitude towards relationship with Saturn and the Sun? Is it a violent relationship? No, it's not violent. They don't have a violent attitude towards relationships. But it's not a good relationship because it's two malefics. Saturn and the Sun is called Pitri dosha. I like to translate that as ghost dosha. Why? Because Pitri, albeit shows ancestors, but what it does is it's trying to connect you to those who have passed. Can you hear them? No. Can they hear you? It doesn't look like it. All right? So it causes an issue of not listening. Saturn and Sun. You're not listening to them. So when Saturn and Sun aspect the 7th house, there's a good chance the person is not listening to their spouse. There's no violence here. No Mars, no Ketu. Somebody is going to say, Mars is having Graha Dṛṣṭi on the 7th house. Maybe for a period of time, this person can have a bit of aggression. It can. But it's Graha Dṛṣṭi. It's temporary. It's not permanent. Step 1. How is his attitude? Saturn and Sun. Okay. Bit of ego is there too.
The clash, yeah.
The Lord is Mercury over here with Venus. So Venus is supposed to be the experience, which is number 3, and Mercury is the spouse, number 2. Is there a problem with them? Not really. Mercury is combust. There could be some ego problems, surely. But there is a Papa Kartra Yoga of Saturn, Sun, and now Ketu has joined. Ketu is a violent planet alongside Mars. So now this is becoming violent. Okay? Yes. The Papa Kartra is making this violent. Can I add some more information? Yes. When you have Papa Kartra Yoga, okay, you need a malefic here and you need a malefic here to focus on this. Parashara adds, if there's also malefics in the 7th from either of the malefics, then it is adding more maleficence to this, as if this is like a sickle. Okay?
Right. Mangal and Rahu in the 7th from the, yeah. Whoa.
So it's as if now Mars and Rahu are contributing to the affliction of the 7th Lord. So what if I say this person was beaten by their spouse, their wife? Okay? So this is a case where his attitude is Saturn and Sun, and the attitude is not the problem. He doesn't want to fight with her, but it's contributing to the problem on Mercury-Venus, which is where the spouse gets anxious. And then all of these malefics start beating him. He had a first marriage where it was very violent. He would argue with his spouse, and it led to the extent that his spouse beat him. So now we can see the difference, right? And his experience is becoming poor, and the spouse is also, getting involved here. But his first attitude is different. Now,
that's interesting.
Here's a case of the opposite. Okay? Bertrand Cantat. He beat his spouse to death. All right? Yes.
Ooh, okay.
Horrible experience, right? Now, that means there must be some very poor attitude towards spouse. Yes?
Yes.
So where do we find that? So we look at the 7th house. Now, immediately somebody will say, 7th house is empty, see 7th Lord Moon is Nietzsche. Oh, there's a bad experience in marriage. But how do you know his attitude is bad towards the spouse? Why would he beat her? Okay? Why would he do that? Moon Nietzsche doesn't cause necessarily somebody to be violent. Okay?
Yeah.
So now, let's see. And then we will look at the Rashi Dṛṣṭis now, because we're still examining attitude. And there is also Rashi Dṛṣṭi of Moon here. But again, moon is depressive, not violent necessarily.
Correct.
Okay? And we also have Rashi Dṛṣṭi from these four planets here.
Yes.
Of these 4 grahas, Mars and Saturn and Sun are malefic, and 1 Mercury is a benefic here. And if you recall, Parashara says if Mercury is with malefics, he will behave malefic. Somebody helping out, helping the malefics out. So none of this is positive. In fact, if you look at this person's attitude towards relationship, it's either 4 malefics or it's a Nicha moon.
Yes.
Either that, I mean, what choice? What good choice does he have? He either debilitated moon Rashi Dṛṣṭi or 4 malefics Rashi Dṛṣṭi. Nothing good. No good attitude towards spouse. Now we give a statement. 1 malefic can make you very considerate of people's failings. Okay? When aspecting the 7th house, it can give you daya, where you say, oh, you're suffering, 1 malefic, you can be considerate, 1 malefic. 2 malefics, your consideration stops.
Afterward,
Okay?
it's hell, yeah.
3, yeah, even with 2, it's hell. 3, it gets very, very bad. Okay? So obviously in Merle's chart that we had earlier, those Saturn and Sun, he is not considerate of his spouse. That's why he's not listening. He's considering it okay not to listen to his spouse. Obviously, that behavior will eventually antagonize the spouse, surely. But that she beats him, that's a separate story. Okay? But here, we are seeing that it's 3 malefics plus 1 additional Mercury contributing to that. And then on top of that, we are also seeing that the moon debilitated is getting involved, which is also lacking compassion. Okay?
Yes.
So this goes out of control. Now, I'm only referring to his attitude now. What finally happened to his spouse will be the 7th Lord. We already know that fate with moon debilitated as being bad. Okay? Somebody is going to say, but Visti, how do you see that the spouse died due to this? And then I will say, to confirm the extent of suffering the spouse will have, I will also open Navamsha. Because so many people are born within these 2 hours and not everybody kills their spouse, thankfully. Okay?
Yes.
But I will know that, yes, the 7th Lord is debilitated. This means there is some suffering coming to spouse. Okay? I can then argue that in this, Saturn is having Graha Dṛṣṭi on this. So she's going through a very difficult experience. Yes.
Yes. 10th aspect,
yeah. If you want to see Navamsha, does it make sense that moon is in Marana Karkstana and Navamsha in 8th house? That's definitely adding a huge pie to this. Very, very big pie to this. This is a very problematic chart now. Okay? But if I say more, then we're going away from our 3-step principle.
Yeah. There's the additional things here. Yeah.
There are additional.
Navamsha, yeah. Very visible.
But we at least have to get the outset. Okay?
Yes.
2nd house can make you very compulsive. Your behavior is compulsive. It's not thought, it's compulsion, 2nd house. Okay, so now we got an example of this. Here is the chart of the lovely lady he killed.
The wife.
The wife, indeed. And her name is Marie Trintignant. They're both from France. She was an actress. He was a musician. So let's see here. What is going on in her 7th house? Her 7th house is having Dṛṣṭi from all of these planets here and all of these planets here. Are they all bad? And then I see, well, there are 3 malefics, Saturn, Ketu, and Sun.
Together,
but Venus, Mercury, Jupiter are competing with that. Here, Rahu is malefic and Moon is a bit more positive in Cancer. So the attitude is not the problem here because it's a bit of a mixed bag. 3 malefics are competing with 3 benefics. There's 1 benefic over there, Moon, 1 malefic, Rahu. They're competing. They're sort of canceling each other out. They will cancel each other out in such a scenario. They will. They will do it. Now, so then, all right, her attitude is bad, but she corrects it. She didn't kill all her boyfriends in a deadly fight. No, just this one had a trouble with her. Now, 7th Lord is Mars or Ketu, and Mars has gone to the 8th house. Now it's getting a bit complicated. Things are getting a bit weird here. And if I then dwell a little bit further, I will start looking to see what yogas are happening here. For example, if I say 7th Lord is in the 8th and this is Mars, can I say that this is a bad marriage yet? No. It's
Not
just
yet.
7th Lord in 8th. How many people have that?
Yeah, yeah.
And this 7th Lord, at most, this can cause divorce, we will say, at most. And even then, I will double check Navamsha. It's not enough to just say from here. And this Mars is aspecting by Graha Dṛṣṭi, the moon, with Rahu. And this is now a curse of moon. Why am I using Graha Dṛṣṭi now? I'm seeing, okay, there's a problem with marriage. What is the spouse looking at? He's looking at her body. Moon is also the senses and body.
Yes.
And her longevity.
Yes.
And Rahu is contributing to that. So Mars and Rahu are now hurting her longevity. And one of them is her spouse, who is contributing to hurting her longevity.
And again, Rahu, the Dara Karaka, interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody will say, Visti, she had a terrible marriage. I say, I'm more worried about her longevity. Yeah, he killed her. Oh, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So this is how we make our steps in analysis. You can clearly see who is having which attitude. All right?
Yes.
And Rashi Dṛṣṭi helps us understand that attitude clearly. And differentiate between what is in your attitude, what is the other person doing when it comes down to decision time. Decision time is always the lord of a house. Indeed. Here's a chart. Now we have justified the principle, I think. Okay?
Definitely, yeah, yeah.
This is the mother of the Grossberg-Peterson baby who was killed years ago. I think it was in the 90s. And the situation was that she got pregnant very early, and then she and her boyfriend went to a hotel room to deliver the child, and then they killed the child and threw the child in the dumpster.
Oh,
horrible experience.
Look at the 5th bhava. Oh, wow, 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 wow.
Bear with me. If I look at the 5th bhava, we're going to run into a dilemma in a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to run into a dilemma. But let's try. Now, there's a statement in Kalprakashika, we should see 9th house for kids for women. But let's see 5th and see what happens.
Yes.
Okay? What is her attitude towards kids? What is her attitude towards relationship? All of this is relevant now because it was her partner helped her do this.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. If we see just the 7th house to begin with, and why is it relevant to also see 7th? Because it also tells how much compassion you have. Now, the 7th house is empty, so the Rashi Dṛṣṭis are from the fixed signs. It's a movable 7th house, so fixed signs. There's only one fixed sign having Dṛṣṭi, and that is Leo, with planets, that is, having planets, of which Mars and Saturn are there, but also Moon and Venus. So the attitude towards relationships is not so bad. Not so bad.
Mixed,
it's a mixed thing. It's a mixed bag. It's bad, it's good. It's bad, it's good. That's the attitude towards partner. But if I start seeing where's the 7th Lord, it's Venus, and Venus is joined now Mars, Saturn, Moon. And now Moon is getting a problem. Okay? Now this Moon is not so benefic anymore because with Mars and Saturn, he will confirm what Mars and Saturn are doing. So I can say her attitude towards spouse is good, but she could get a bad experience with her spouse. So now I have to look at the kids. 5th house is supposed to be father for women. I know. Crazy stuff Kalprakashika says, right? Yes. And we already said we couldn't justify the poor attitude towards kids from here because it's a mixed bag. Moon, Venus against Mars, Saturn. It should cancel out Mars, Saturn. Right. What about if I say kids for women are the 9th house? Let's see now. So here we look. What are the Rashi Dṛṣṭis? Rahu, Ketu, Jupiter, Sun. Oh, Visti, there's Jupiter there. Shouldn't it be good? I say it should be. But if I say Sun is a malefic, and Rahu is a malefic, and Ketu is a malefic, and we are left with Jupiter in 3rd house in Marana-Karakastana, this is a Marana-Karakastana attitude.
Yes. And if you combine
now
all
it's like
dual Rashis, it's like a cross.
4 malefics. Yes, it's almost like 4 malefics.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It's horrible. The person's attitude towards kids is horrible. Okay? Maybe they will change with time and have a kid, but there's a horrible attitude. Okay.
And that was the first child.
Yes, first child. First pregnancy as far as we know.
The 9 bhava, yeah. For the woman.
Now, then you'll say, but what happened to the child then? The 9th Lord is Jupiter. Yeah. Now we are confirming. This was the experience. This is the terrible experience also. So
combination of the attitude with the partner, the partner in crime, plus eventually the result for the child itself. Yeah. Everything is.
Yeah.
But these are the brutal examples of all these charts that you show. Very, very, very.
These are horrible examples. But the reason I bring up these examples is to see clearly, firstly, was there a graha in the house? No, that's why I didn't choose those examples with grahas in the houses. I chose the Rashi Dṛṣṭi to show what is causing the attitude. Now, not everybody with this chart, with this Rashi chart, will kill their kids, but maybe they decide not to have kids, or maybe they'll just have an abortion. Okay?
Correct.
That depends on the amshas. The Vargas will tell us that story. What exactly happened? Why did she wait with killing the child until delivered? She could have taken an abortion. No. They were living in a place where that was difficult, or they didn't want to disappoint their parents, or so on, so forth, because of their age. And so all of those topics come to fore that are relevant in this, okay? They wanted to hide it or wanted to be secret. Maybe they were deciding to have the kid in secret and they decided not to, and all of that story, all right? So that's a Varga question as to what really happened, but I want to at least get an idea of what is going on in this person when it comes to the topic of kids. And so we get to see that Rashi Dṛṣṭi helps us get to know this much better when we look at bhavas. And then later, Graha Dṛṣṭi becomes relevant when we want to see other aspects of that outcome.
An interesting thing from the Chandra and the Rahu, the distance, it is like the Bhrigu Bindu point is in the bhava of the children, right?
And let me be sure. 4 degrees is here. Rahu is at 6 degrees. So it will be in 5th. Yes, it will be in 5th.
Yeah.
Bhrigu Bindu is a...
Yeah, something completely.
Oh, no, it's an interesting topic. It's a... Yes, midpoints between grahas. This is how Rashi Dṛṣṭi works.
Very much applicable and very much logical and needed, actually needed.
Indeed, I'd argue that. That's how I was taught. And so now the next expansion of this is we start using it in places which, for example, like Arudas, where Rashi Dṛṣṭi is pivotal. So they each have their place, when to use which. Now, you cannot use Rashi Dṛṣṭis to manifest curses because there's no desire behind Rashi Dṛṣṭi.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a circumstance. Now, circumstances can influence attitude. If you're in a family which has very specific demands for who you marry and specific demands for what you do about kids and all of that, then you're growing up with that instilled in you, and at one point it comes to fruition through an action because of your attitude. Rashi Dṛṣṭi is also like that.
Yes.
Rashi Dṛṣṭi can also give you knowledge. Okay? So which of the grahas are Gyan grahas? They are Jupiter, Sun, Rahu, Ketu. So if they are having Dṛṣṭi on your Lagna or Lagna Lord, you can be blessed with a lot of capacity for studying. Now, unless there are other factors in play, I will not take that seriously. Okay? But it is relevant. So if I pick up, let's say, the chart here of Einstein, our epitome of brains, we say, then see in his chart, if we start looking at the Gyan grahas, the ones which have brains, Jupiter, Rahu, Ketu, and Sun. Of these, only the Sun is having Rashi Dṛṣṭi on his Lagna.
Yes.
So you will say his capacity for thought is very little because of the 4, only 1. So what is that? 25% capacity.
Yeah.
Somebody will argue, no. Also at Jupiter's Graha Dṛṣṭi. So I say that's temporary. So 50% sometimes, but he had huge capacity. Okay. What if you take his Lagna Lord? His Lagna Lord is Mercury joined the Sun. We're still back at, what is that? 25% capacity. Still, Maybe you add Jupiter's sign and get 50. All right. Yeah. But he's still Einstein. How did it happen? Okay. So some people, they will have a small capacity, but what they do with that little bit of capacity is amazing. Some people have huge capacity and they do absolutely zero with it.
Wasted, yeah.
Wasted. So many people are there. Somebody is right now sitting and looking at their chart saying, oh, I have all 4 aspecting or join my Lagna. I must be brilliant. And I say, but what did you do with it? Okay? If you did something with it, you're probably not studying your chart to discover it. Okay?
Yeah.
And that decision comes from Kriya Shakti.
Yeah. The third one, yeah.
Third one. Kriya Shakti is residing in the nakshatras.
Yes.
There are Dṛṣṭis in the nakshatras. Okay? And they have Dṛṣṭis which cause you to act on things. Now, I really don't want to enter that topic because then I have to use different types of nakshatra charts to do so. And we will use, let's say, Savartobhadra chakra for one type of Dṛṣṭi. Then there are individual Dṛṣṭis in the nakshatra charts, but they're all Kriya Shakti. They cause you to do something. Yes. This is a relevant topic because you cannot actually confirm an event will happen without knowing that you did something or somebody else did something to you. So there is an underlying aspect of using nakshatras to confirm events in the Rashi chart. Okay? There's an aspect of career which is only relevant if your karma nakshatra is part of the yogas for the career. Very interesting.
Indeed.
So people say, oh no, I only practice nakshatra Jyotish. And I say, that's not how I was taught. Oh, I only do Gemini astrology. Say, that's not how I was taught. I only do Parashara astrology. All you three are lacking something. All of you three. Okay? A proper Jyotish should be including nakshatra and Rashi and grahas and everything in one go to get the full picture. Okay? That's Jyotish. Now we're really doing Jyotish. Now it's not, somebody's branding of I do this type of astrology or that type of astrology.
Yeah.
Okay? And so, what if I wanted to analyze Albert Einstein's nakshatra of his lagna? Because we talked about his brain power, yes?
Ardra.
So he has lagna nakshatra in Ardra. So an easy statement I can make now is, because I knew lagna was for brains, is Rahu, the Lord, joined an exalted planet or an own sign planet, then he has a huge brain power. Rahu is joined exalted Mars. Vahe Guru. He has huge brains.
Yes.
Exaltation. What a blessing.
Yes.
Huge power and huge ability.
And one detail about that Mangala, it is extraordinarily important for the logics. For me personally, it's even more important for logic than the Mercury itself. For me, at
Mars
least.
is logic and Mercury is discrimination.
They're different.
Yes. They are very closely related to logic, but their approach is different. Yes, indeed. And we can now argue that really this is what's driving his chart and giving him the Kriya Shakti to act on his intelligence and use it. If you don't have strong grahas associated with your Lagna Nakshatra Lord, then you are not accessing the divine knowledge. You're not accessing the great Navanathas with all their brain power. The gurus are there. You're not accessing them. All right? Then it doesn't matter how much of processing you do.
Yes.
Lagna Nakshatra Lord, or at least a graha in the Lagna Nakshatra, if it's there, if it's strong, best is Swakshetra, own sign. Best is that. Some people say, why not exaltation? Einstein has exaltation. Say, yeah. But the grace of Shiva is what gives knowledge, and that happens in own sign. Okay. Exaltation is Vishnu, best student. Yes. Vishnu is the best student of Shiva. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Other devatas happen in Multrikona. Hey, I'm differentiating between own sign and Multrikona. Multrikona is like office. That's other devatas. Ganesha, Shakti, Rudra, Surya. Okay? Like that. So, they also have great capacity. But first, we need the nakshatra to even look at brain power.
And one interesting detail, okay, Mangala is in Uttarashada, okay, and Rahu in the Uttarashada. 5 degrees separated from each other, very, very close conjunction. At the same time, it's a powerful Angarak yoga. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. My interest was solely that Lagna Nakshatra.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Yeah.
Then we can define that.
Okay.
So it is from there that one enters into the story and the topic of Kriya Shakti and Kriya Dṛṣṭi. I will hold myself back on that for now. But then I want to talk a bit about yogas, how yogas work.
Okay.
And because now you can hear that we have layers, right? There are layers. Rashi Dṛṣṭi layers, Graha Dṛṣṭi layers, Nakshatra Yoga and Dṛṣṭi layers. They're layers, they're different and they work in different ways. And certain types of yoga, I will only look for Graha Dṛṣṭi. These are called Bhava Yogas.
Isn't this fun? You learn your whole life and you still have a lot more to learn.
Okay.
Beautiful.
It happens like that.
Okay.
But there are yogas which are happening in the sky, which are not bhavas, because bhava is related to you, right? You have a lagna, so bhavas are related to you. But then there are these yogas happening in the sky. What is that? That's independent of you, right?
Yeah.
Because there are no bhavas involved. What are those bhava yogas called? I mean, those yogas called, those sky yogas, they are like Gajakeshari. Did it depend on any bhavas? No. Moon and Jupiter, that's it. Okay?
Yeah.
Did they ask you what is your lagna lord, what is your fourth lord, and all that? No question. Okay? Correct. What is another yoga that is independent of you? It could be a graha is in own sign or exalted. That's also sometimes called a yoga. All right? Was it depending on you? No, because it didn't depend on any lordship from lagna.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
At most, maybe they'll say a bhava from lagna. Maybe.
For the Mahapurushas and so on.
Yes, but that's still really not dependent on you, is it? Not really. Not really.
Correct.
Very common yoga, Nipuna yoga, Buddhaditya yoga, Sun Mercury yoga. Oh, the person is brilliant. Does it depend on you? May not.
May not.
But it becomes Mahapandit yoga if it's in first or fifth house and in own sign or exaltation of either of them. Then it's suddenly relevant to you. Okay? So there are yogas which are based on bhavas and they're based on karakas. Karakas means independent of bhavas. Okay?
Yes.
But obviously, the reason we call them karakas is to allude that there's something called bhava karaka. And which means that you might have a yoga from a bhava. You say, oh, Visti, I have a Raja yoga, first and fifth lords. And I'll say, I don't care unless God has said yes to the yoga. So that means if a person has a bhava yoga, it must be confirmed by karaka yogas. So people look only at Gajakeshari yoga and they are not thinking to look at what is there from your lagna to support the Gajakeshari. Because Moon and Jupiter are there in the sky, God saying, okay, there's some brains over here, there's some books over here. But are you opening the books? That depends on lagna. So there must be a counterpart for every yoga. If you say, I have Maharaj yoga, first and fifth lord, I will say, okay, how are Sun and Jupiter? Are they having Rashi Dṛṣṭi on each other? Because now it's Deva Dṛṣṭi, right? In the sky, Karaka.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Sun and Jupiter are the Karaka for Maharaja yoga. If Sun and Jupiter don't have yoga, then first, fifth lord yoga is useless.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the Karakas of the first and the fifth. Yeah.
Easy one, right? There's this whole group of Karaka versus Bhavas. And people will read one Karaka yoga and don't think to look at Bhavas. They will look at one Bhava yoga and not think to look at Karakas. But when you study Parashara, you must almost look at this. You must say, is there any lordships from Lagna mentioned here? Yes, no, in this yoga. If it's not, then you have to go back and you have to derive that. Because Parashara is implying you have to look at both. One is you pursuing it. The other is that the rain will allow the water to fall. Okay?
Right.
You run through the bhavas. You look for something through bhavas. You're trying to achieve through bhavas. It is your desire, itcha, making that happen. And then just as soon as you have come to the precipice of achievement, now you're waiting. Where is the blessing? The blessing is the karakas. They have to give you the blessing down. They have to flow. It has to flow downwards. You ran up the Pingala Nadi and came to the top like a rishi. You're doing sadhana. Now when is the blessing coming down? That blessing is the karakas flowing downwards. You ran up, the blessing flows down to you.
Interesting.
That is Jyotish, huh?
Yeah, beautiful. And in the chart of Einstein, can we look that the Karaka of the sixth can be Mangala, not only Shani?
Yes. Absolutely.
So the every day, so he is building it because it is the third from the sixth. The Mangala is in the third from the sixth. So every day he is using his capacity to the fullest in the bhava of the subconscious. Very interesting.
You could. I will not speak ill about that processing. Yeah. What I am interested in for him is he is supposed to be brilliant. So I would look at two. I will now think, oh, he is a Dhimanta. Okay, Dhimanta. So then I will say, firstly, Nakshatra is saying yes. Lagna Nakshatra says, yes, brain is there. Does he have a yoga between first house and fifth house, or first and third house, or first and sixth house? These are Dhimanta Bhava. Okay? Yeah. His first and third lords are the Sun and Mercury. They're joined.
Yes.
Good. Who is the Karaka for those houses? All right?
The first and the third, yeah. Yeah.
You say Sun and Mars, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would say, but for brains, I need Sun and Mercury. So they're not equal. For Dibanta Yoga, I need Sun and Mercury. So when you read Buddha Ditya Yoga, you have to look for Dimanta Yoga.
Yes. When
they are both there, then you can be sure it's happening. So for a Gemini ascendant, Sun-Mercury combination can make you brilliant. Okay? So there's a case for this. Sun-Mercury Yoga, Gemini Lagna, you can be brilliant, even in debility. Then you'll say, but we see there's debility. Is there Nicha Bhanga?
Yes.
Venus gave Nicha Bhanga.
Shukra is there, yeah.
Super Nicha Bhanga from Venus.
Cancellation of debilitation, yeah.
So then I can say, here's a person who initially may not show much brilliance initially in life, and then he will achieve big things later on through his own brilliance.
Maybe slow at the beginning, maybe not learn in the school, but later on, yeah.
They told him he was not fit for going to school. Yeah. They wanted to throw him out of school.
They told me the same thing, and now I'm with Visti Larsen. Can you imagine that?
Well, you know, how do we, there must be some good Nicha Bhanga there then. Some Visti Nicha Bhanga. And this is the attitude we have towards yogas. So yogas are in different parts, and they have a train of thought. First one yoga, then the other. Then you support it with another yoga, then you support it with another yoga. Also Charakaraka yogas.
Yes.
4 types of yoga. With this, I hope we have had a good, thorough session together.
We did.
And it's always a pleasure to speak to you, Mahakalnath.
Thank you. It's mutual. I really enjoy it. And we will take some time off. The new year is here. Thank you for this beautiful, I think we have now 7, 8 videos or so in the last 3 months. So for the people who are watching this and always wanting more and more and more, you know, please calm down for a little bit, for a little while. We will see in the future. Yeah. So thank you for your precious time that you've given to us, and let the new year be much more, you know, in more blessings for you and your family, and
same to you,
your sadhana and everything.
To speaking to you again and doling out some more Jyotish goodies. Have a lovely future ahead for everyone who's listening as well. All the best and good luck in every aspect of your life. And remember Narayan, as he enables us to cross every Gandanta, every obstacle, and ensures that the fruits of this planet, both material and otherwise, are always at their highest. All the best to everyone. Namaste.